Happy birthday, Tater. You're 60 today? No. Happy birthday, everybody. Wish happy birthday wishes to Tater Bug. We are so happy that you're here on your birthday morning with us. And Wendy Joan, good to see you. Marcia, Dorothy, the birthday girl Tater herself. Sidebar Snoop, good morning. Judy or Judel, sorry. Um, hey, True Crime Wifey, happy you're here. Enjoyed the Charlie Jailhouse calls with you. Y'all should watch those with True Crime Wifey because then she gives like all the information and facts she knows. It's amazing. Hey, Jenny and Patha, good to see you. And Tater, what are you doing on this humid birthday? I was hoping it would clear up today. It's so humid out, y'all, on the windows. It's got like condensation. It's bizarre, but that's life in the South. Hey, Susie, Linda, good to see you. And John Smith, everybody. Hello. So, I'm excited to try to change it up a little bit for y'all on the book club, Extreme Punishment. And I try to put in like YouTube clips and photos and things wherever I can just to break it up and make it more interesting. Because a lot of the book, he's like describing trials and so much of it we've already seen, but I also want to make it interesting. So, without further ado, I will go on. But yes, I am Leslie, and this is all just my opinion. I'm not an attorney. I am just what would you call it? An independent researcher, book reviewer, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to put it here on the banner. We are watching clips of trials and reviewing Extreme Punishment. So I do want to say I had really postponed reading this whole book for a long time because all I ever heard is that, oh yeah, he is on Wendy's side. And I just want to say, having now been about finished with it, I did listen to it on Audible a while back. That is just not the case. So I just want to say I do encourage y'all to read it. There's just some really good information in here. Okay. So we are starting with chapter 18 today. So one thing I love, not one thing, but many things, is that Epstein really goes into like information, and he did his research on who everybody is, and he gives us information that I don't know anybody else. So this is about Tara Kawas. So I think we all know she's from Jamaica, but she had a very strict father. And she's a petite person, 5'4", 100 pounds. So she was from Jamaica, and then she came to America as a freshman in college at Miami, Florida International University. And she was actually 17. And then during her sophomore year, she had a friend that asked her, hey, would you go cash some checks for me that my parents sent? She said she didn't have a bank account. And Kawas, being naive and young, she didn't know. She took the checks into the bank. Well, they turned out to be forged and fake. And 2 days later, she was sitting with a police officer, and she was essentially arrested. Did y'all know that? So she was terrified. She spent 48 hours in jail, and she, on purpose, did not eat food or drink water because she did not want to have to use the toilet in the jail or anything. She was terrified because on the way to the jail, the cop in the patrol car looked in his rearview mirror and said, "You're a very attractive girl. They're going to have your way. They're going to have their way with you in there," which is pretty scary. She ended up just getting probation for 3 years, and she had to do 100 hours of community service, and she had to plead guilty to 1 low-level, misdemeanor, so she knew, of course, this becomes a black mark on your application. When you apply to law school, like, anything you have on your criminal record, you have to explain, and then they can decide what they if they ultimately wanna let you still test for the bar. So then she was taking a legal psychology class, and there was like an experiment where the teacher had somebody come in and quote unquote like commit a crime, grab somebody's purse, and then they did a lineup and said, okay, identify who it was. And she was just convinced she knew who it was. And then it turned out that none of the people in the lineup were the people that had or the person that had run in. And that was really just impactful to her. Growing up, she was obsessed with Matlock, and I thought that was kind of funny because I think a lot of us have all been obsessed with that. She did become a US citizen in 2010, and then when she was in her 3rd year of law school, she interned with the Miami-Dade County Public Defender's Office, and she loved it. So then when she graduated, she was a public defender for 7 years, handling clients accused of homicide, a lot of first-degree murder cases. She handled a lot of cases. All right. I'm not really reading the chat as much now, but I'll just keep going because I've got some clips and things in here. I'm gonna make it more fun today, okay, y'all? So she left the public defender's office in May of 2014, and in July 2016. So July, think about that. That is, Sigfreda's been arrested in May of 2016, but we're not at Katie's arrest yet. That's not until October. But Kawas was contacted by Katie McBanawa because and this wasn't because of her arrest or anything yet, but because there was a subpoena for Dr. they call him Boobner, but Dr. Rudner, who had done her breast augmentation. They wanted her medical records. I think they were trying to prove, the cash flow. And she was trying to quash the subpoena for Dr. Rudner. And she actually went to Tallahassee August 19th, 2016 to represent Katie to keep these records out, but she was not representing her yet in the actual case. So, did y'all know that? Of course, we all know Hankinson was the judge, and she was able to persuade him to limit the records that only showed Katie's medical appointments and how she paid for the surgery. Did y'all know any of that? All right, so then we'll get to Sam Zanganea. I think I'm saying it right. I love saying his name. Yeah, Jenny, you struggle with Tara Kawas. Yeah, I know. She's grown on me through the years, though, but I'll tell you who I really like is Chris, and we're going to get to him in a minute. So Sam, y'all, he was, of course, lead counsel for Sigfredo. And we know Sigfredo was arrested in May, and what was the name of his first attorney? Was it like Terry Lewis or something? And then July 12th, 2016, he got a new attorney, and that was I keep saying Sam, but it's actually pronounced Sam. But he is Persian. His father was in the Imperial Iranian Navy, and they were actually stationed at the U.S. Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island, and that is where Sam was born in April of 73, which, of course, we all know makes him an American citizen. His family was filthy, filthy rich. His grandfather was a chemical engineer for BP, the oil company, and that was when, of course, all the oil money, and they were loaded. Then it all changed in 1978 with the Iranian Revolution, and the family lost all their money, and since they no longer were wealthy and everything, the country didn't really want them anymore. So his parents, they sent Sam to the US to live with his aunt who was in Indiana. And then he ended up in Washington, D.C. suburbs. He went to high school there. Then he got a scholarship and he went to Virginia Tech. And he was actually um, like majoring in biology and stuff, maybe gonna go to med school. And he was running a pharmacology lab, or he was in a lab. If you've ever taken like science in college, you have to go to these labs. And his supervisor, who also was an immigrant, told Sam that he was such a good bullshitter, he ought to consider going to law school, which I think is hysterical. Tater says, all those Persians are rich. LOL. I went out with one in Nashville several years ago. He tried to impress me with his new Porsche. I just couldn't do it. Yeah. Right. So, so then he ended up applying to the University of Miami Law School, and that is the only law school he applied to. And it had nothing to do with their reputation. It was because of the beaches and the beautiful women. He thought if he was going to suffer through law school, that he needed some good fringe benefits. And he almost flunked out his first year. He was rarely going to class. And then he actually decided to try a different strategy. So in his final 2 years, he still didn't really go to class, but he studied all the material on his own for the most part. And he ended up graduating University of Miami Law School with honors in 2001. Then when he was in his third year of law, one of his teachers pulled him aside during a mock trial and said he really needed to consider becoming a prosecutor. He had been offered a 6-figure job to work at a cushy Palm Beach law firm, but his best friend got him this job at the state attorney's office, so he ended up going there. And he, in 15 months, y'all, he prosecuted homicides, and in 2.5 years, he served as the assistant state attorney. He was a lead prosecutor in 20 murder cases. And he got known as the Persian prosecutor. That was kind of his nickname. Then he decided to go on his own and become a criminal defense attorney, and he really got most of his clients through Instagram posts. He would post photos in flashy suits, and he would represent different rappers. And then he actually had represented Sigfredo Garcia's older brother, Noel, at one time as well. And then, no, let me rephrase that. Yes, he had represented Noel Garcia on several occasions, but then it was Noel who reached out to him then in that July 2016, was like, hey, we need you to represent my brother Sigfredo. And he did so on very little cash, essentially. So then this is Christopher DeCoste, and I want to show y'all. So he is Italian, and that is his mom, y'all. He posted a picture with her recently. This was a Mother's Day post, but she's a Italian lady. She was a businesswoman and really his role model. But he grew up in Massachusetts in a very wealthy area. He went to an all-private Catholic boys' school. He was definitely interested in athletics. He played hockey and also lacrosse, so super competitive. His mom always told him that there was always an importance in a career of getting paid to think. So essentially that's what we know DeCoste did. But it was this recruitment video, and I think it's this video. I did my best to find it on YouTube. So let me
It happens every day. It's not a Hollywood set. It's not a TV miniseries. It happens right here in Miami-Dade County. Real-life dramas that unfold 365 days a year. And the cast aren't make-believe. They're real people. The 1,100-plus members of the State Attorney's Office, a team that works 24 hours a day to create a safer community for everyone. Over 300 lawyers and a support staff of over 800, including 58 paralegals, 52 witness counselors, and 23 investigators, handle everything from serial murder and rape cases to public corruption. From tracking down delinquent child support to white-collar and economic crimes. From child abuse to environmental crime. From domestic crime and narcotics to gangs and organized crime and felonies of all sorts.
Ours is a never-ending commitment to our community. Because the decisions we make can impact individuals and families for a lifetime, our work and our passion is the pursuit of justice.
The office is made up of specialized divisions, each with real expertise in these areas, dealing with career criminals, homicides, drug trafficking, and more. It's quite an impressive organization, handling thousands upon thousands of cases. In fact, hundreds of thousands, making this office one of the largest of its kind in the nation, and by far the most involved in the community, involved with helping the victims, and dedicated to seeing that.
Did y'all see that courtroom? If you watch the George Pinot trial, that's that courtroom.
Most involved.
I know that Here for Today and I always were commenting on the courtroom, but that's that one from the George Pinot trial. Yeah, 800 staff, y'all, in the state attorney's office in Miami. Imagine that.
Most involved in the community, involved with helping the victims, and dedicated to seeing that justice gets done. The lawyers get involved to the last detail of each and every case, working with over 35 local police agencies, sharing information and resources with federal agencies, the Secret Service, and even the Coast Guard. We are in Tallahassee, working with legislators to strengthen the laws that will ensure convicted criminals stay in jail. And we are at the crime scene to get first-hand knowledge of the crimes and the evidence. We handle a staggering caseload and continually lead the state in the huge numbers of career criminals we put behind bars and off the streets. In the last 5 years, city and county commissioners, mayors, and crooked cops have felt the message and are no longer in office. The office has attained an impressive conviction rate. Since 1993, we have consistently led the state of Florida in sending career criminals to prison, a fact that has contributed to our community being able to enjoy the lowest crime rates we've had in over 30 years. It didn't happen by accident. There are our special outreach programs like Project Safe Neighborhoods. There's the Gun Violence Enforcement Team, the Justice in Motion program, and the multi-agency gang strike force, to name a few, that are out there trying to cut crime off and prevent violence before it happens. We provide services for the victims and witnesses of crime as well. Counselors, transportation, and forensic interviews. We aren't isolated in our offices. We are on the streets. South Dade, North Dade, all over town, all aimed at getting to the sources of crime and cutting them off. And in the courtroom, some of the best, most experienced prosecutors anywhere represent the citizens of this community with energy, with understanding, and a passion to see justice at work. It's just what we do and do best.
Everyone in this office, from prosecutors to support staff, is fully committed to seeking justice, both in the courtroom and in the community.
The State Attorney's Office in Miami-Dade County, creating a safer community for everyone.
Isn't that interesting to see? So Christopher had gone to Villanova, and he was, like I said, competitive athlete. And then he ended up going to Suffolk University in Boston for law school. And he said, what sold him on Miami? It was the allure of being able to handle felony cases quickly, coupled with a Miami Vice style recruiting video that the state attorney's office had sent him promoting the glitz and glamour of the Magic City. Now, I don't know for a fact if it was that video I just showed you, but I think I think it is. And Chris said, "It was so cheesy, it was actually great." So it makes sense why so many of them decide to get involved quickly in the state attorney's office. I mean, they said they had 800 on staff or 800 attorneys. Maybe it was staff total with attorneys, paralegals, and everything, but they all got some experience super fast, right? Murder trials, that kind of thing. So he stayed there in the prosecutor's office for about 3 years. And then in 2008, he became his own private practice attorney. And then in 2013, he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And he said he was, terrified. And the doctor was like, "You've got to trust me with your life." And that's what really changed him to identify with his clients, to essentially say to them, "You got to trust me with your life." And that's his mom, as I showed a minute ago. So there she is, Italian lady. He posted that on Mother's Day of this year. So, I mean, I would say it's a little older picture, but pretty lady. Then I was going to show y'all. So I went through his Instagram account, and I just took a few screenshots just to show y'all. But y'all look in the lower left who that is. That's Tara Kawas. So they did several cases together. But he posted this in March of 24. So obviously an older photo. It says, "Tale of faces. I'm thinking about what I'm getting for lunch. Client is processing judge's stern words while avoiding a felony conviction in prison. Tara is planning to murder someone, and the bailiff knows it, which is why he's looking right at her." But he posts a lot of, but this one too, he posted recently, "Great day in Tallahassee. No incarceration for drug trafficking clients." I saw also a post where he said that he feels most comfortable in the courtroom. He said anywhere else he feels very awkward and out of place, but courtroom is just very comfortable for him. Look at him as a little boy. Pretty darn cute. But I know a lot of us always say if we need a defense attorney, we would call him if we're in Florida. Okay, so this was, I just mentioned he got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2013. He was 34. So he posted this memory on Instagram. So there he is getting treatment. And he says, photo circa 2013. "Sometimes I get asked during contentious hearings or trials why I take the fight so personal. 10 years ago today, I was diagnosed with cancer. The months after my diagnosis were filled with surgeries, bone marrow testing, rounds of chemo, daily radiation, etc. My experience, I think, is a lot like being prosecuted. Your world is abruptly thrown into chaos. Sometimes it's the result of poor life choices, while other times it's unexplainable, like my diagnosis. Family and friends are worried and feel helpless. Your life is put in the hands of strangers. It's wildly expensive. You don't know if your life will ever be the same or if you'll even have one. The process is very unpleasant. And most of all, you're fighting against an uncompassionate and unrelenting force. I'll never handle a case unmotivated by my personal experience. I can't look at a client and not see myself. I was lucky and met a lot of great people along the way. Many of them selflessly helped me get back onto my feet and back into my life's passion, fighting for my clients and doing my small part to maintain the delicate balance of the criminal justice system. Thanks to all." Yeah, skier. Great comment. I applaud him for getting Wendy all riled up. I agree. I think that put him on the map. Hello, Blue River, Judy, everybody. I don't want to miss anyone. Hey, Leanne. I know a lot of y'all are listening as you are about your busy Sunday morning. And let's just all again wish Tater a happy birthday today. It's her birthday. So then let's go to the next one. So then this is just another post he made October 2022. Not guilty. We did it, Anthony. You're amazing. At 67 years old, you faced the criminal justice system for the first time on a very serious charge, attempted murder. You stood tall against the government, refused every offer, and waited patiently for trial from jail. Surrendering your innocence to your sister's lies was never an option. I'm very grateful I was appointed to represent you. So happy for your freedom. He definitely seems like very committed to his clients, and I'm going to give him that. All right, so this one I think we all can recognize. This is Chris during Tara's trial. You see the back of Sarah Catherine's head, I think, but he wrote, so he posted this in 2022. 15 weeks ago today, I lost in a trial and the feeling is still horrible. I've defended a ton of clients in trial over the past 14 years. I forget most of the trials, but the 6 I've lost are burned into my soul. Carl, Osbel, Kevin, Tiffany, Damaso, and now Catherine. I know it's part of the profession if you're fighting the tough battles, but it still sucks. I'm not going to lie. Part of it is just me wanting to win. A bigger part, however, is whether I used all my tools well to protect someone's life. I also don't want to live in a country where it's easy to take away someone's liberty. On October 11th, I returned to trial in Miami, attempted murder. So it's time again to leave everything on the courtroom floor for a man I'm positive is innocent. Hey, Peachy King. Good morning. It's good to see you. I hope y'all are enjoying these posts because I was enjoying looking at them. And then that was just a picture. We've seen that video of Tara and Chris and all the masks, which was one of the reasons why there were so many delays, because he was a cancer survivor and Tara was too, of breast cancer. So he posted this picture one day walking into the Tallahassee courthouse. One attorney armed with a Boston accent, the other a Jamaican accent, walk into a courthouse in the Deep South. Cracks me up. And then apparently there was something on A&E and Chris had longer hair, but he showed the defense team. I guess this was in an A&E special. So he uses a lot of photos on his Instagram from Katie's trial. And he says here, few things are more stressful than when the government loads an indictment in the chamber and takes aim at you. To those who trust us with their lives, we got your back. Now, this might be familiar if y'all watch the George Pinot trial. There's Chris, you can see in the tan suit. He wrote, great defense team, good result, horrible suit. And then if you look to that prosecutor, that's the lady, and I'm drawing a blank on her name, who was prosecuting George Pinot that everybody got really upset about. But that's a very young Tara over that lady's left shoulder, if you can see that. If anyone's here that watched that trial can remind me of her name, it's just like totally escaping me. It's Laura, I think. Laura something. And then this was Chris as a child. So there he is in his little yearbook. Activities, lacrosse, soccer, remote control cars, drawing, future, lawyer, hockey player, or airline pilot. And then he's posting this photo. I mean, I'm sure this one's giving him a lot of PR, right? Several weeks into trial, long days, no days off, little to no sleep, over-caffeinated, depleted, and loving every damn second of it. Photo circa 2019. Leanne, have a good walk. All right, so I just thought y'all would enjoy that. Oh, also, I did pull his his website. So the law office of Christopher DeCoste, about the firm. He talks about all that he can represent: federal crimes, theft crimes, violent crimes, juvenile, drug, domestic, under investigation, probation, crimes. Contact us today. So I've heard a lot of people say if they need one, they're going to call him. All right. So then fast forward a little. Yeah, exactly. Scare. He had a guilty client, unfortunately. Yeah. Hey, Michelle. It's different now, isn't it? So if y'all ever see me and Michelle in a chat, we go back and forth with like Wendy quotes, or Georgia and Wendy quotes, I should say. All right. So Tara and Chris met the day he was leaving the public defender's office. And this is on page 298 for any of y'all going along in the book with me. And Chris told her, he said, I have a felony murder trial starting in 4 days, and I'm considering replacing the second chair lawyer. Had, asked her to join him at the defense table. And that was her first week in private practice. And the client ended up being found not guilty. So they worked on cases. They were never necessarily in practice together, but they did work in practices together, or on cases, I should say. So then it was October 1st, 2016. Kawas calls Chris and says, I need you. And they've arrested Katie. And Chris is like, who? And she goes, don't you remember I've told you about Katie before? Because again, she had been to court a couple months prior when they were trying to get her medical records into court. And they both truly believe that Katie was just a pawn just to get Charlie. And they just absolutely believe that she was not involved, since the state attorney was so willing to consider immunity from prosecution in exchange for her cooperation. But it says here in the book, Katie made clear to her attorneys that she wouldn't be telling prosecutors that Charlie had involved her in a murder plot because it was not true. And it says Kawas and DeCoste believed her, and they believed in her. Then they tried to get her bond. They kept arguing that she had family in the Philippines and she didn't try to flee there. Then Willie Meggs, of course, we know, appointed Georgia Kappelman. So next we got to discuss Epic Queen Georgia Kappelman. Even though some people dog her really bad online about her, I am not going to. But we all know her dad was a Florida State quarterback, Bill Kappelman, and he was a decorated quarterback at Florida State. And then he did play in the NFL for the Minnesota Vikings and Detroit Lions. Georgia had attended public school. She went to Leon County High School. She was a volleyball player. She was so tall, so it made her a great volleyball player. She had great athletic genes, and she was also a member of the dance team. Then she eventually, when she went to college, she first went to Tulane, which is also where Rob Adelson went. And she partied a bit too hard and struggled academically as a freshman. So then she transferred and went to University of Florida, and that did not go as well either. So by her sophomore year, she was back in Tallahassee at Florida State. Did y'all know this? So she always considered herself a pre-med student. She really wanted to become an orthopedic surgeon. I imagine because she was an athlete. I know I've heard a lot of athletes say similar things. But then she didn't really like all the rigorous curriculum, which I can understand because I was pre-pharmacy originally. She changed her major to English, and she really didn't know what she was going to do. But she was waiting tables at Clyde's in Tallahassee. And this is, I believe, Clyde's. Any Tallahassee people in here, but Clyde's and Costello's, but I guess people call it Clyde's. But it is a popular restaurant where a lot of the state legislators and lobbyists, of course, many of those we know are lawyers, But they encouraged her. They said, you should go to law school. And she really didn't have a lot of desire, but she was like, okay. So she went to law school. And in 1998, she started at Florida State's law school. So this is Clyde, y'all. That is where our sweet Georgia was. Mm, yeah. Real happy. I know you said I never would have pegged Georgia as a dancer. I wouldn't have either. I was shocked when I read it. Oh, thank you, True Crime Wifey. Clyde's is closed now, but a great restaurant and martini bar type place. Thank you for that. Good to know. Oh, and then I love this quote. So then she started interning, of course, at the state attorney's office, and I'm assuming then she just really found her passion. She passed the bar exam in 2001, and she quickly gained a reputation for being hardworking, tenacious, and thoroughly prepared. And she would never take no for an answer when she was looking for an important piece of evidence, which I loved reading that. But she said she always displayed a calm, poised demeanor, cool as a cucumber. And one thing she said in an interview, and I'm pretty sure this is what she said on STS back when she interviewed with them, quote, I just try to look like a duck on the surface of the water, even though underneath it's a lot of frantic movements. I love that. Hey, Carrie. Good to see you. All right, on to the next chapter. So there's a lot of details. I'm just not going through all. We're not quite to the next chapter, but I'm not going into as great of details. But they compare. If y'all have ever seen the movie My Cousin Vinny, that's how they kind of compare this first trial. Well, you've got the Boston attorney, and then you've got Tara Kawas, the Jamaican accent attorney, in a old Southern town, if you will, and they said it was like a scene right out of My Cousin Vinny, because Kappelman is so in her element, right? She's so comfortable there. And their judge, we all know, is Hingham Hankinson. And DeCoste, he kept Kappelman on her feet. And I think she has said just as much, but they accused her of withholding a lot of evidence. And at the very last minute, gave her 12 pounds in all of an avalanche of materials, is what they called it. So then in December 2016, Katie was denied bond. They talk about the leaked affidavit, which we talked about. Let me see where that's explained. It says, this is on page 306. A few weeks before Katie's arrest, the police department had intentionally leaked a probable cause affidavit laying out in exquisite detail all of the evidence it had amassed against Charlie. The Tallahassee Democrat ran a story about the content of the affidavit, laying bare the simmering feud between the Tallahassee PD and the state attorney Willie Meggs over whether to charge members of the Adelson family with Dan's murder. And we've all heard that the Dolce Vita, the audio was so bad, and Meggs just didn't think there was enough there. But we all think there was more going on. So they're moving forward with everything with Katie. And then this was interesting. The Friday before the trial was to start, it was September 23rd, 2019, Kappelman got a call that afternoon that Kawas and DeCoste, who were already in town preparing for the trial, told Georgia that their client wanted to meet with her. So they really thought, okay, this is it. She's going to tell us everything. It says, Georgia, the veteran prosecutor, interpreted their 11th hour invitation as a signal that Katie had something of value to offer. So it was 8 p.m. on a Friday night. Kappelman and Jason Newland sat in a small meeting room across the table from Kawas DeCoste and a wide-eyed Katie McVanawa, who had just been aroused from a nap. So they're thinking, okay, is she going to want to tell us something? But all she wanted to let them know was that she was innocent and knew nothing about Dan Markel's murder. And she said she would be willing to take a polygraph test. So they were very annoyed, and that was that. There was nothing else to the meeting. All right, chapter 19. This is talking about Garcia's jury. He had to have a death qualified jury. So the jury got to decide whether he would be getting life in prison or if he would go to death row. And ultimately, we know they decided against death row, but the jury had to be death qualified. So after he was found guilty, then they went on to a sentencing phase. And we know the prosecutors were Georgia Kappelman and Anna Norris. So she was the other one in the first trial. Tara Kawas brought her sister with her, Kristen, which a lot of us have seen on the videos. And she's actually really an appellate attorney. Epstein goes in to describe how Garcia was all clean cut looking with glasses, and he had never worn glasses, but it was, again, all for his appearance, Katie's appearance. So then he goes in to describe their opening statements. So
who gave him a 7-year deal offer?
All right, hold on. I'm going to back this up. So this is how Psalm opens up. So there were 3 opening statements, right? In the first trial, you had the state, then you had Sigfredo's attorney, Psalm, and then you had Tara for Katie.
For his participation in a first-degree murder case. And who gave him a 7-year deal offer? The prosecution. So you have to think and you have to ask yourself, what did the prosecution get in return for the deal of the century? What did the prosecution get for giving a defendant with an extremely long criminal history, including a recent federal conviction for racketeering as a Latin king? What did he give? Did he give the information of a mob boss or a drug kingpin, a foreign or domestic terrorist, a hiding school shooter? No. He gave up Sigfredo Garcia. And why does that matter? Why does what he gave up matter? Why does Luis Rivera's information in this case matter? Because as it's clear from the government's opening statement, their focus in this case is on the Adelsons. Donna Adelson, Charlie Adelson, Wendy Adelson. That's who their real targets are. And so what do? They go after the low-hanging fruit. They go to Luis Rivera, who was charged with first-degree murder and subject to the death penalty. And they tell him, we're going to cut you a deal where you only have to serve 7 more years. 7. So what is he?
So yeah, 7 years is what Psalm focuses on. 7 years, because we all know Lewis was in prison for 12-year sentence in the federal prison system, and then he got 19 for the murder, second-degree plea murder of Dan Markel. So he really only got 7 more years since it was running concurrent. Then Tara Kawas, so we'll show a little bit of her opening. And I feel bad because I used to always like knock her hair in this trial. Like, why does she have it slicked back like an ice skater? But he explains that it was growing back because she had had the breast cancer treatments. And so, you know, when your hair's growing back and you got like wispies and stuff.
May it please the court, opposing counsel, also co-defendant, prosecutorial desperation. That is the only reason why.
And I'm sorry if the volume sucks, but I've got it cranked.
Catherine McManus is charged with a crime that she had absolutely nothing to do with. The prosecution's relentless obsession with arresting the Adelson family has led to this day, this moment, in this courtroom, where an innocent person is being accused of a crime that she did not commit. But one thing is 100% certain, members of the jury. At the end of this case, when you are presented with all of the evidence, not just the little bits and pieces from the state, you will see for yourselves that she is completely innocent. So let's talk
Okay.
about Catherine McMahon.
So I'll stop that. So yeah, prosecutorial desperation. That's what they kept calling Katie's trial because they really believed her. Yeah. Hey, 850, you said finally reading this, a lot of it is just review, hard to get through, find myself skimming a lot. But there is some good information in this book, but a lot of it is, that's why I'm trying to clip in, just because he goes through, and describes the courtroom and that kind of thing. But they really believed Katie, which is nuts. So they go through, of course, all the different openings and the arguments. I'm just kind of, hey, True Crime Wifey, did you know that they call Katie his wifey, Sigfredo? Is that where you got your name? I'm just kidding. Okay. So they also reference in the opening how Garcia called Harvey. That's what Tara referenced. She's like, where are the Adelsons? None of them have been charged. Where are they? Then the state opened and they talked about how the angle that Dan was shot had to have been fired by somebody taller, that it was at a downward angle. And they really focus on that height difference in this trial between Sigfredo and Luis. All right, then we get into, sorry, I'm just not going to go through like all the details of all the stuff in the trial because we know a lot of all this. Okay. Then they talked about an Adelson in the courtroom. Wendy then was there on day 2 to testify and talked about her immunity agreement. And of course, we all know her attorney was John Lauro, but something that struck me says her own attorney, John Lauro, had hashed out an immunity agreement with the state's attorney office, which ensured that the former clinical law professor could testify freely without fear her words might be later used against her. I would not say he hashed that out. I mean, that is a given. So when you're a state witness, when you are subpoenaed by the state and you're forced to testify, meaning you can't plead the fifth, this is a given. I mean, this would happen to anybody. It was not a special thing given to Wendy. So him hashing it out, I don't totally agree with. So I could see how somebody could interpret that they gave it to her and people are like, oh, they never should have given her immunity. That was the only way they could get her to testify. And we've learned now from that CLE recently that she never would do a deposition. So they never really knew what little Miss Thing was going to say. He also describes her dress. This is funny. In the courtroom, she was sporting a heather gray dress with black embroidered stitching that encircled her neck and bisected her body from top to bottom. A black blazer further enhanced her lawyerly appearance. Now 40 years of age, she didn't look a day over 35. Her long, silky blonde hair. I think this is the stuff that people are like, oh, he's on her side, but I don't think that. Then they go into details of Wendy's testimony. And something that's always kind of struck me is when they ask her why she went to that ABC liquor, over there. She says, I don't know many liquor stores. That was the first one that popped up. Now, I tried to think back to 2014. So like on an iPhone, if you went to your Safari browser and you typed liquor store, wouldn't it pop up the one that's closest to where you are? Was that how it worked back then? Does anyone know? I don't know, but that doesn't even make sense. Beach Chillin says, amazes me people believe they believed Katie. All defense attorneys are going to say they really believe their client. Otherwise, they're suborning perjury when their client testifies. Or let's think about Corey Richins. What's her face? Her attorney, Wendy. She said, in all my years, this is the only client I really thought was not guilty. What? How do you even say that? True crime wifey. I don't think Wendy is all that in appearance. I know y'all might hate me for this, but I remember when I started this case, I looked back at the 2019 testimony and I remember thinking, oh, she's pretty. Of course, I don't think that now. All right. So then I thought I would show a couple clips of Psalm with his cross-examination of Wendy, but he really goes into what kind of cars, and Wendy's like, I don't know. She had a fancy car. I just don't really know what Charlie had, if it was a Porsche or Ferrari, which Jeff basically impeaches that statement because he said, oh, she definitely knew what he had because she would talk about it, about how her brother is a character. And then Zanganea is definitely trying to point the finger at Luis during all of this. So let's see.
Ms. Adelson, I represent Mr. Garcia, and I'm going to ask you some questions, okay?
Okay.
Charlie's your older brother or younger brother?
I'm the youngest in the family, so both my brothers are my older brothers.
And how many years older is Charlie than you?
He's approximately 3 years older.
Would you describe your relationship with your brother as a close relationship?
I would.
And the brother I'm referring to is Charlie. And just for the record, all the questions I have with regards to brothers is going to be focused just on your brother, Charlie, okay?
Okay.
Charlie graduated high school,
He did.
college,
He did.
dental school.
He did.
So he has a substantial educational background.
Yes.
Would you consider him to be book smart?
He did very well in his classes.
So that would
So
potentially be a yes. What about street smart? Do you think he was kind of street smart?
I think he's good with people.
And would it be fair to say that he has a wide range of friends, different types of friends?
He has a lot of friends.
Would you say, well, are there certain friends that he goes out nightclubbing with?
I don't know. He doesn't talk to me about nightclubbing.
Okay. Well, when he has social events, do you ever go out with him socially?
I haven't in a long time. I'm pretty busy with my kids. But I have once or twice gone out with him.
And is it the same types of friends that he goes out to these social events with?
He would usually go with his roommate, who's I don't think they're living together anymore, but they lived together for a while.
Would you agree with me that your brother Charlie was I don't want to call him like a socialite, but he would frequent the nightclub scene?
I honestly don't know that.
So your single brother is a pretty handsome guy, right?
I think he's handsome.
Right. We've seen his pictures. Good looking guy. Never been married, right?
No.
And what kind of car does he have?
For a while, what does he have? What is he driving right now?
Well,
He likes cars. Like
he has a lot of cars, right? And these aren't like Hondas or Toyotas. They're Mercedeses and Ferraris, right?
he drove an unmarked police car for a while.
But that wasn't my question. My question was, did he ever have a Mercedes?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, and it wasn't like a C300. It was like a 5 Series, right?
I honestly don't know anything about cars.
Well, it was the bigger Mercedes, right?
It was big.
It was the
So I hate how she just kind of repeats their questions, but just like turns it into a statement. Like, he's a likable guy. He had friends. Beach chillin'. This cross was more like an awkward first date with a Charlie fanboy. Yeah. And I don't feel like Charlie ever watched this. Like, how would you not watch this first trial if you were him? Probably would have sent his anxiety into overdrive. Yeah, her answers were flippant, Marcia. Yeah, 850, right? Doe-eyed stare kills me every time. John Smith, but hitting the hot tub and back banging a Korean girl is up for discussion, right? Yeah, I know. You want to slug her. She's so smug. She's trying to look innocent and playing dumb. Good morning here for today. Cheryl, I think he's handsome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she's just like trying to, I don't really know what kind of car. It's like she was scared to like admit that, oh yeah, my family has money. So then we go into Tara's cross-examination, which y'all know I had to bring it up because he highlights it in the book.
Now, you are testifying today under a state subpoena, correct?
Correct.
And that state subpoena gives you immunity for your testimony, right?
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury, since you're an attorney, what immunity is?
Immunity is freedom from prosecution.
So that means that anything you say today can't be used against you if the state decides to arrest you later on.
The state isn't going to decide to arrest me.
Do you know if they consider you a suspect?
I don't know.
I love that when she goes, the state isn't going to decide to arrest me. And Tara goes,
Now, the life insurance policy that the state was asking you about, have you received any money from the life insurance policy from Mr. Markel?
I don't know if maybe in the beginning, the life insurance that Danny owed me about $100,000 when he died. I do think that his family made that disbursement. I don't know if they paid that through the life insurance policy, but other than that, there's been the life insurance policy is money put away for the kids. I've never seen it.
Do you have?
yeah, and she just continues to be evasive here. Michelle, I don't think I go as much into Chris's cross on this one just because I'm trying to just stick to like the chapters, but I know, but I did go into Chris DeCoste with like his Instagram pictures and pictures of his mom. And then of course they talk about the Truscott Drive. So I put a picture in here with the police tape. I wasn't concerned about the police tape. Okay. Because then Kappelman called up Bill Brannon, and he's the one that says he saw Wendy or someone who looked like her. And then, of course, they have Jeff Lacoste come to the stand, and Red Eye Coffee. Is that still open, True Crime Wifey? I pulled this picture offline. So this is the Red Eye Coffee Shop. And I think this is something we haven't talked about enough lately. So remember, there were 2 hits that we know of planned. There was that June one, the June 4th trip when they came up there, and Rivera said, I'm not going to do that in front of the kids. And remember, it was on that day that Wendy came to meet Jeff at the Red Eye Coffee Shop around 1 or 2. And she cancels. She had planned to go to California with him, and it was going to be July 11th through 17th. Okay, so we know that Wendy didn't have the boys then. They were going to be with Dan, the 17th being that Thursday. But she cancels it and says she just can't, and he just didn't understand why. But now looking back, so see, I think this is a huge piece of evidence, in my opinion, because I know we've been talking about like what could get admitted into court, but Jeff would be big into laying all this out. But my question is, have they ever investigated? Did Wendy actually buy that plane ticket? Because I know they asked Jeff that because they each bought their own. And they asked Jeff, like, did she buy the plane ticket? And he's like, yeah, I mean, he's like, I mean, I guess she did. I mean, because then she canceled it. But like, do we have any proof? Do we have any proof that she ever bought that ticket, that she ever was truly going to go on that? That is some of the information. True Crime Wifey says, yes, Red Eye is still open. I like their chai tea. Oh, I agree. The best cross-examination was Chris DeCoste. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a fun. Does it still look like that inside? Because it's kind of got like a frog theme or something. Wait, Beach Chillin', did you all hear the letter her estate attorney sent Phil and Shelley's attorney about the estate ML read recently? I don't think so. I mean, I read the one originally when Dan was first killed. That letter, I'm trying to remember, like Butters, I think was the last name of the person that was doing that. Yeah, what was it about? Here for today. They need to hire you as a legal researcher and get this case finished. I would love it. True crime wifey. It still looks like that. That's good to know. I always just like to envision that. Oh, wow. Beach Chillin says Wendy's attorney sent a nasty message claiming she should be in control of the assets as the boy's guardian. Didn't know that. Hey, Forensic RNN, you're between cases. Happy Sunday. But yeah, don't y'all wonder that about the plane ticket? Because it bugs me. Like, I want to know. All right. Something else, the celebration dinner, they talk about this too. So she always claims a month on the stand, a month. And then I think in Charlie's trial, she said it was more than a month. But when you see Lacasse testify, he said that after the murder, he only talked to her once. And I've heard him say in some things 10 days and other things he said a couple weeks. So a couple weeks would be August 2nd, July 18th. Then 2 weeks later would be August the 2nd. Okay. If that is when he talked to her and she's claiming she'd already had the celebration dinner. So that means if you backtrack, the celebration dinner was still probably in July. So it was not a whole freaking month. Again, that's something else. I mean, obviously they know something about this because it's asked in every single trial. All right. So then Luis Rivera comes in to testify, and this is another chapter 21. It's called The Blue Jumpsuit. And of course, they're talking about Luis. And just if y'all haven't watched that, you should. I mean, he's on the stand for 2 or 3 hours. And it's amazing to see how much he's changed. But one thing that Epstein noted already was how through all of that prior testimony made by Rivera, who was a very experienced witness, it also created numerous inconsistencies resulting in part from his memory fading as the years passed by. And that's just from being incarcerated. So we all know this took place in 2014. So this is 2019. So 5 years later. But here we are now in 2026. And I think we've all seen him, deteriorate through the trials. True Crime Wifey says, Jeffrey says 10 days after the murder is when he talked to her the first time, and she tells him about the vomit on the table. He also told TPD in August, right? So then that would put it in July. It's not a month later. So I thought I would show this clip. This is when he testified. So when he comes into the courtroom, he spells his name incorrectly. He says Lius.
May proceed, Mr. Kaufman.
Sir, please say your name and spell your name.
Louis Rivera.
Slide forward a little closer to that microphone, please, sir.
Louis Rivera. Liusrivera.
So did y'all see that? He wasn't up on the microphone, but he said Lius.
How old are you, Mr. Rivera?
36.
Are you currently incarcerated?
Yes, ma'am.
And where are you currently incarcerated?
Right now I'm in the feds.
With the feds?
Federal prison.
Okay. And are you serving a sentence currently for both this case and an unrelated federal case?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you plead to in this case that we're here about today?
19 years.
All right, but what charge did you plead to?
Second-degree murder.
All right, 19 years in prison,
Yes, ma'am.
and you're serving that concurrent with your federal sentence?
Yes, ma'am.
How long is the federal sentence?
12 and a half.
All right.
But look, I mean, can't y'all see the change? I mean, think about this. This is 2019, and then we know what he looked like in 2025. So 6 years later in Donna's trial, I just see a huge difference. Huge difference. And we also learned from that recent CLE that Georgia just cannot stand Luis. But then Chase and Doolin would go and eat pizza with him just to like review his testimony. And Georgia's like, I'm not eating pizza with a murderer. But it is sad he misspelled it his own name. All right. Then one thing they really focus on in this trial, because again, we know that the medical folks early in the trial had said that the way the bullet hit Dan, it had to come from somebody taller because it was at a downward angle. And so they show photos of Luis and Sigfredo standing next to each other. And Luis is actually, according to this book, 5'4", and Garcia is 6'1". And when they asked, the people that do all the forensic stuff, how tall would the shooter have been? They said probably about 6'1". And then Luis, of course, goes into saying they didn't do the shooting the first trip because he did not want to do that with the kids in their presence. And then I pulled some other key things from his testimony. I love it when he identifies Sigfredo and he says, there he is in the tux. So.
Together,
Yes, ma'am.
can you describe Mr. Garcia's shooting position, like how he was holding the gun?
One hand.
All right, was it raised up or was it like a normal arm, pretty straight shooting position?
Raised up pretty straight.
Okay. And did Mr. Garcia, did you observe him touch anything did he have to go inside the garage to kill Mr. Markel?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you see him touch anything inside the garage?
No, ma'am.
All right, and when he shot Mr. Markel, can you tell the jury anything about how close the gun was to Mr. Markel?
Pretty close.
Okay, would you say inches, feet?
Just inches away.
All right. Did you see Mr. Garcia go inside the house at all?
Not at all.
Did he take anything from Mr.
No.
Markel other than his life?
No, ma'am.
What did y'all do once Mr. Garcia shot Mr. Markel?
Got in the car and left.
And who was driving?
Me.
All right, which way did y'all go?
The same way we came in.
All right, up Thomasville Road?
Just they by the corner of the park.
Okay, so you turned at the corner by the park?
Yeah.
And then did you turn at the light?
Yes, made a right and just left.
All right, did y'all get on the interstate and head back to Miami?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see the person in the courtroom who shot Mr. Markel?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please point that person out and describe what he's wearing?
Garcia with tux.
Tux?
Yeah.
What color is the shirt?
Blue.
Let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant Garcia.
Georgia Tux. I think she was just always like, oh my God, what's he going to say? Because in the first trial, he talks about the owl. And then in the second trial, he's like, oh yeah, I posted a picture of a lion. And I just think he was just so just didn't know what he was going to say. Yeah, Michelle, how about when Jackie Fulford twice called him Garcia? He let it slide the first time, but the second time he let her have it. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question. I mean, did the Adelsons ever say don't do it in front of the kids or do it in front of the kids? Cheryl says, I wonder if any of the Adelsons ever stipulated that it shouldn't be done in front of the kids, or was Rivera the only one of the motley crew with a shred of decency. That's a great, great point. I've always, like, the whole thing just, I don't know, baffles me that they would even do this with the kids around. I mean, he took them to preschool. Like, why wouldn't you do this in New York when he was traveling? Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, the tux, it just makes me laugh. Okay. I've got some other moments I'm going to show as well, because he really just goes through and explains all the testimony, and I can't obviously show it all. He does talk about this, and True Crime Wifey has done like a drive-through and a walkthrough and all this around Dan's house, and she has shown as our expert who lives in the area that he told jurors that eventually they separated with Dan. Dan pulled into Benton Hills from one direction, and he drove around to enter the subdivision from the opposite direction. So they two ultimately heading directly toward one another on Trescott. Dan then pulled into his driveway, and then Rivera said, "I pulled right behind him." And he noted that Dan was on the phone. As soon as we pulled in, Garcia jumped out of the car, went around in front of the car, right behind his car, and in front of the car I was driving. He went to the driver's side and shot him. So then they ask about the money.
All right, so tell us again what exactly was said.
He said, we already finished because I already know it's done.
All right, and then what?
And then we asked for the money, like, where the money at? So you'll get it tomorrow.
Who said you'll get it tomorrow?
Katie.
Who was responsible for getting the money?
I believe Katie.
All right, and you said, why do you say you believe Katie? Was it Katie or not?
Yes, it was Katie.
All right, and did you know where she was going to get the money from?
If I knew, not really, but we know the lady, Wendy, was paying it.
All right, so you knew that the job was being done so that Wendy could get her kids.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go with Katie to get the money?
No, ma'am.
All right, and when Katie said you'll get the money, what exactly did she say? I'm not sure you said
They'll
that
get the
yet.
money tomorrow.
You'll get the money tomorrow. And was that okay with you?
Not really. I mean, now the job is done. We should get the money today.
All right, did y'all go back and forth about that a little bit?
Not at all.
All right, so she's going to get the money and you were going to get it tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you get the money the next day?
Yes, ma'am.
That's going to be Saturday, the 19th,
Yes, ma'am.
July 19th, 2014.
Yes.
Your financial records indicate that you went to Big Daddy's the night of the murder. Is that a place in Miami?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of place is that?
Big Daddy, you got a bar and then you got a Flanagan's right next to it.
Okay. Is Flanagan's also a bar or is that something else?
It's together.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bar. It's a sport bar.
Is that a place that you hung out regularly?
See, he's so much clearer on the details in this trial. It just really worries me, because I mean he says Wendy, he says the Adelsons, he talks about the dentist, and then in Donna's trial he's like, oh, my memory's not so good. True Crime Wifey, because Wendy would not have been able to tell Garcia the details of Dan's movement as Dan was in New York. Oh, I agree. I'm just saying, like, hire a legit, like, New York hitman. That's I've just never, well, I mean, then again, let's just think about who we're talking about. Yeah. And he does talk a lot in this trial about how the Latin Kings are still trying to get him in prison. But I think there is a lot to be said about that plane ticket, and I hope they've researched that. Here for today. I'm still amazed Harvey is flying free. How could it? Yeah. I hear ya. Okay. Then it's funny. Epstein goes really into Psalm Zanganea cross-examining Luis, because he's obviously like trying to defend Garcia. So he's trying to say Luis did this all. And he goes through like over 30 minutes of Latin King stuff, just keeps bringing up Latin Kings. And Georgia keeps like objection, relevance. And Hankinson's like, move on, trying to keep him going, wants to go to sidebar. Judge is like, no. And then at one point towards, Luis is getting over with it. And he's like, why do you keep saying Latin kings?
Non-Latin kings to ensure integrity within your organization?
And we're for the murder case or for the Latin King case?
I think it's the same thing.
No, it's not.
Okay, so answer my question. Don't answer my question with a question.
It's not. What you talking about? You keep talking about the Latin Kings, where it ain't got nothing to do with
Well,
the
hold
murder.
on,
The
but
murder.
you're King Tato, right?
Yeah, but it don't got nothing to do with the murder.
I love how he's like, why you keep talking about that? Ain't got nothing to do with a murder. But see, like this is such a different Luis than we see today, right?
According to you, right? Because
No.
if you were,
Wait a minute, stop. Ask another question, but sing it in. Answer the question.
is
please.
there a portion of the Latin King Manifesto which suggests that if you were to buy a gun to commit a crime, you'd buy it from another king to make sure you don't get in trouble?
No.
So yeah, again, you know, as Donna always says, it's not about the case. Okay. It's not about the Latin kings. That's what Luis is trying to say. There was one piece of information, and I didn't go through to find it, but apparently that Zangan, he said, did break a bit of new ground by having Rivera confirm that his buddy Tuto got out of the Prius while the two were waiting in the parking lot at Dan's gym, and he urinated on a bush. But that was the only tidbit confirmed. And he wrote, perhaps not the wisest testimony to elicit. So did anybody know that? I didn't know that. Then go into details of how the money exchange all went in Miami, which we have heard how that went back and forth with Jessica and everything. Then in this trial, they had the guy from Creative Preschool, Keith Leland. He testified and talked about how he did look out the window and saw a greenish silver Prius parked in front of the building. So I don't think they brought this guy back in another trial. I know that not recent trials. Also, Shoderick Nobles did pick out Rivera in a photo lineup. So I pulled a little bit of Shoderick Nobles. True Crime Wifey. Oh my God, he peed in the parking lot of the gym. There's cameras, those idiots. I know, right? Yeah. But I mean, remember how high and drunk and all that. Hey, beach bum. Can y'all imagine what she's thinking now? Yeah, Tater, exactly. Wendy Sig was hyped up on Coke and it made him jittery, ready to do it. And also trying to be numb to not remember it, if I recall. So if y'all have never seen some of Shoderick, I'm going to pull that now. It took a bit to find this because it was buried in another
Parking
testimony.
lot of a motel, correct?
No, when hanging out, coming through, driving through.
I'm sorry?
Driving through when I was flagged down by you.
You're driving through by a hotel, and was it daytime or nighttime?
Night.
I'm sorry?
Night.
Was it dark outside?
Yep.
And so someone from a motel randomly picks your car and flags you down? That's your testimony, correct?
Randomly picked me, I guess so. That's what
I'm
happened.
sorry, sir. I can't.
That's what happened. I was flagged down.
Okay, so you were flagged down. Had you ever had any previous exposure or experience with my client?
Nope.
And so he randomly flags you down and asks to buy cocaine, correct?
Yeah.
And you were more than happy to oblige, correct?
All right.
Okay. So did you have cocaine on you?
No.
Okay. So did you have to go to your stash house to get it?
What stash house?
I'm sorry?
What stash house?
Well, if you didn't have the cocaine on you, was it?
I know where to
stashed?
get it from.
You know where to get it from?
Yeah.
So you then went and retrieved cocaine and came back to the motel?
Yeah.
Were you alone?
No.
You were with other people, correct?
I was with a girl.
You were with just a girl?
Yeah.
Not a girl and two other guys?
No.
So it was just you and a girl?
Yeah.
Was her name Lakeisha?
Leticia.
Letitia? What's her last name?
Lorraine.
Lorraine? And you enter the motel room, correct?
Yeah,
And was there another gentleman in the motel room?
yeah.
Can you describe that gentleman?
Short, stocky.
That gentleman right there, correct?
Believe it.
That gentleman right there?
Believe it.
So for those of you new to this, that's why everybody's believe it, believe it. So they showed him photos and he picked out Luis. I think they might show it.
Would you have, did you describe him as villainy?
Villainy.
Like he looked like a villain?
Objection.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think right
He said, would you describe them as looking like a villain? I don't know what you're talking about.
there.
Have you ever described him as villainy?
Sustain the
That's him right there.
Wait a minute, stop. When there's objection, stop. Go
Yeah.
Answer. I've sustained the objection.
Was he armed?
Yeah.
And by armed, I mean, did he have a gun?
It was a gun laying on the dresser.
And did he leave it laying on the dresser when you walked into the
When I
room?
came in, he got it.
So they're showing a picture of Luis on the screen. Yeah, at one point he does say what the fuck to the judge.
Picked it up.
Okay. And what did he do when you picked it up?
Picked it up and had put it on. Man.
I'm sorry?
It's like basically picked it up.
He picked it up.
Yeah. I would pick it up too.
At any point, did you see my client with a gun that night?
No.
Would you describe that gentleman as being aggressive?
Yeah.
And by that gentleman, I mean Luis Rivera, the gentleman in the picture.
The guy right there with the gold on. Yeah.
At any point during that evening, did they mention to you that they were there for a homicide?
Why would they do that?
Why would they flag down a random stranger to buy cocaine? I'm asking a question.
That's a good question.
Now, you claim that you've never met either my client or the gentleman in that picture before, correct?
No.
That gentleman in the picture, his name is Luis Rivera. Are you aware of that?
Thanks for telling me.
So no one had ever told you that before, sir?
That's his name, right?
Was he your source of supply of drugs from Miami?
What the fuck is he?
I'm sorry?
What the hell are you
Was he-
talking about?
Well,
There it was. Was he your source of drugs? What the? Oh, Shaudrick. Probably not like your ideal witness, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah, they were trying, or Psalm was trying so hard to point everything to him. So then after Shaudrick testified, of course, we had June Mchenda, and then Jessica Rodriguez, who was baby mama of Luis Rivera. They really wanted her to testify, they being the defense team, because there were inconsistencies between like her depositions. And he says that Tara kind of kept baiting to try to get Georgia to call Jessica as a witness, but she never did in this trial. Apparently, it was going to show inconsistencies of the money drop. But she says he says, in the chess match the trial had become, Kappelman made the strategic decision that Rodriguez's conflicting versions of the money drop made calling her as a witness too risky. So did not, because her testimony was different than Rivera's. All right, next we go into chapter 22, Mountain of Evidence. So then Yendra Mascaro, who is Katie's good friend, she was on the stand and she just basically was talking about how Katie had asked her to babysit the night of the shooting, because we all know she went to Charlie's. She talks about the Lexus because the defense team tried to point out that, the Lexus wasn't anything great, but she says it was in pristine condition, and that Katie had told Yendra that night that Charlie's brother-in-law had been in an accident. Then they also used her to talk about how she had been a bottle girl with Katie and just what the tips were like, because it was nowhere close to the cash that Katie had been depositing. There was no way she was making that as a bottle girl. And then they called Clarissa Labredo and Erica Johnson, who were Adelson Institute employees. And if you've ever seen that, they're extremely loyal. You'll just have to watch. I always thought Clarissa seemed kind of drunk when she came on the stand. Just because of time, I'm not going to pull that. Then they brought Corbett on the stand, and DeCoste was questioning him, and he talked about Corbett reviewed over 300,000 text messages in Charlie's iCloud, and that on April 25th, 2014, there was an exchange between Katie and Charlie. Did Tuto call your phone? Charlie responded, no. And then he joked, actually, he did. He invited me to go deep sea fishing. He was so nice. Katie had replied that she was serious because Tuto was, quote, fucking driving me crazy. DeCoste asked Corbett if he could rule out the possibility that Garcia and Charlie had been communicating through other devices or apps. Corbett responded that he couldn't. So while they couldn't see a text message between Garcia and Charlie, they did see it referenced between Katie and Charlie. But again, they could have been using, WhatsApp or whatever. Hey, Rebecca, I'm not going to chat much. Instead of a regular keyboard, it is tiny, floating up to right. Oh, well, it just sounds like a setting. Let's see. I know a lot of y'all are just listening. I understand. Marcia, isn't he the guy who drove Rodriguez to the auto store when he shot the gasoline by mistake? Not Rodriguez, but Rivera and Garcia. Rodriguez was a woman. Yeah. Hit the button and the heart. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it if y'all like, subscribe. Okay. So then details, just all the different gifts. Y'all can tell I'm kind of going through this faster today. I'm not going to lie. I've got some fatigue on this case. All right. So they talk about all the different gifts and all the different deposits and her credit card. That also Charlie's American Express card statements, 2 airline tickets for Katie to travel to the Dominican Republic in March. And that Charlie had even asked Katie, do you want me to get a cruise for you and your mom? And that October 18th, 2014 was her breast implant surgery, and it was $4,595. And there were just 2 payments on her visa that totaled $195. The remaining $4,400, Hull testified, had been paid in cash. So there you go. You know how she's always like, I paid for that, and I was saving. Right. And then this was interesting too about one thing that CLE information that's just come out that Georgia and Jason Newland did at the Tallahassee bar lunch or dinner or whatever back in March. I've talked about getting evidence in if there was a trial for Wendy. And it was interesting hearing that, you don't know what's going to get admitted, right? I mean, it's just, we can't go and look at all this evidence and say, oh yeah, that'll all get admitted, because you have to have ways to admit this, like the wiretapping. That a lot of it was not allowed in this trial. Judge Hankinson denied Kappelman's request to play Donna's 3 calls with Charlie upon returning to her condo after the bump. But he did allow her to play 28 wiretap recordings among the alleged co-conspirators. Now, my guess is because it wasn't Donna and Charlie on trial, it was Katie's. But again, see, so like you just wonder, like, what's going to be allowed. And then, of course, we all know Georgia really wanted the Dolce Vita recording in, but it was so bad. That was before they had the enhanced audio. This was the first trial that they couldn't do it. Michelle, yeah, that's cheap for breast augmentation, even for back then, very cheap. I agree. Very, very cheap. All right. But the judge ruled that Sanford, so he had gone through like very like noise canceling headphones and all this different stuff. He had developed a transcript of the Dolce Vita, but they just said it's not enough. It's not clear enough to use it. But he did allow evidence of the audio recording of Sanford's FBI interview with Garcia, and that the jurors listened intently with eyes fixed on the defendant, who was denying ever having been to Tallahassee. And then also Sanford provided a blow-by-blow account of Garcia's arrest in Hallandale Beach in the same black Lexus that had been Charlie Adelson's or Harvey Adelson's. And then I loved this part that, let's see, DeCoste was questioning Sanford. Wait, let me find it. Hold on. This was talking about Donna. Let me find it. Oh, yeah. So DeCoste is questioning Sanford. One by one, the Boston native asked whether any of the four Adelsons had ever been arrested or charged. When he got to Donna, Sanford replied, "No, not yet." Can you imagine if Donna was watching that? Like, crap, piquing the interest of anyone who was paying attention. But then he says DeCoste asked the obvious follow-up question. If Donna was about to be charged, the judge sustained Kappelman's objection before Sanford could utter a single syllable. And then the state kind of wrapped up their case. They had Isom and Mary Hull back on the stand, and they went over again what the crime scene tape was like, because they wanted to show that, you know, how Wendy had acted like, no, I just couldn't turn on the street. And they went over the financials of all the cash deposits. So there we go. But I'm not going to go into all the details on all the cash and stuff because we've already done that. And look, an hour and a half. That was my goal. So next week, so we have 2 more of these, and then I'm taking a true hiatus. I've got a couple of thoughts on the next book, and we've got the Swans Don't Swim in the Sewer by Cheryl McCollum, and then there was another one that somebody had mentioned too. So I'll read questions to see. I'm gonna play for anybody that joined late. I did want to show y'all the Miami prosecutor recruitment video, the state attorney's office. So this video, they called it a Miami Vice style video, is what made Chris DeCoste want to go to Miami because he loved it. So in case you missed it, I showed this. This is just like a 4-minute video, but this is what they would send to applicants.
It happens every day. It's not a Hollywood set. It's not a TV miniseries. It happens right here in Miami-Dade County. Real-life dramas that unfold 365 days a year. And the cast aren't make-believe. They're real people. The 1,100-plus members of the State Attorney's Office. A team that works 24 hours a day to create a safer community for everyone. Over 300 lawyers and a support staff of over 800, including 58 paralegals, 52 witness counselors, and 23 investigators, handle everything from serial murder and rape cases to public corruption. From tracking down delinquent child support to white-collar and economic crimes, from child abuse to environmental crime, from domestic crime and narcotics to gangs and organized crime and felonies of all sorts.
Ours is a never-ending commitment to our community. Because the decisions we make can impact individuals and families for a lifetime, our work and our passion is the pursuit of justice.
The office is made up of specialized divisions, each with real expertise in these areas, dealing with career criminals, homicides, drug trafficking, and more. It's quite an impressive organization, handling thousands upon thousands of cases. In fact, hundreds of thousands, making this office one of the largest of its kind in the nation, and by far the most involved in the community, involved with helping the victims, and dedicated to seeing that justice gets done. The lawyers get involved to the last detail of each and every case, working with over 35 local police agencies, sharing information and resources with federal agencies, the Secret Service, and even the Coast Guard. We are in Tallahassee, working with legislators to strengthen the laws that will ensure convicted criminals stay in jail. And we are at the crime scene to get first-hand knowledge of the crimes and the evidence. We handle a staggering caseload and continually lead the state in the huge numbers of career criminals we put behind bars and off the streets. In the last 5 years, city and county commissioners, mayors, and crooked cops have felt the message and are no longer in office. The office has attained an impressive conviction rate. Since 1993, we have consistently led the state of Florida in sending career criminals to prison, a fact that has contributed to our community being able to enjoy the lowest crime rates we've had in over 30 years. It didn't happen by accident. There are our special outreach programs like Project Safe Neighborhoods. There's the Gun Violence Enforcement Team, the Justice in Motion program, and the Multi-Agency Gang Strike Force, to name a few, that are out there trying to cut crime off and prevent violence before it happens. We provide services for the victims and witnesses of crime as well. Counselors, transportation, and forensic interviews. We aren't isolated in our offices. We are on the streets. South Dade, North Dade, all over town, all aimed at getting to the sources of crime and cutting them off. And in the courtroom, some of the best, most experienced prosecutors anywhere represent the citizens of this community with energy, with understanding, and a passion to see justice at work. It's just what we do and do best.
Everyone in this office, from prosecutors to support staff, is fully committed to seeking justice, both in the courtroom and in the community.
Okay. Hey, Crows and Gallows. So that was the Miami State Attorney's Office recruitment video. So I guess Chris DeCoste was being recruited. They're going after young law grads, and they're just showing them, like, you can get a lot of experience dealing with these felony cases. And Chris says that it was such a cheesy video, but he loved it because it was, he called it a Miami Vice style video. But so that wraps up for today. I am going to go enjoy the day. Oh yeah, when I said hiatus, I mean Adelson hiatus. I don't know. I mean, all this crime stuff, it's just kind of getting to me a little bit. I don't even know if I can do that Lindsay Clancy trial. I'm just going to take things day by day. So with all of that, but y'all will have to go back and watch. I think there were some different nuggets in this, but I tried to go faster. Next week will be August 2nd. We're in August. So we've got 2 more Sundays remaining. So we're going to do chapters 23 through 26. And then the following Sunday we'll wrap up, and then we'll probably resume again after Labor Day, But thank you all so much. Oh, here for today, do something about hair or makeup. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But I hope y'all have an awesome day. And again, happy birthday, Tater. And thanks, everybody. Bye. Like and subscribe because every case has more to the story. I'm Leslie B.